Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
Sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. A light sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening. And with me is Brian. And, oh no, Henno.
Nope, not tonight.
Not tonight. No, Henno is off getting hitched. So, Congratulations to Henno and his lovely bride. If you go to Facebook, you can actually see their nuptials. Happened over the weekend. He had someone live stream it.
Yep.
Is that what it was? Live stream it so people can actually go back and watch.
Yeah.
Those who weren't able to join them because they got married out of the country.
Yep.
So, good times, good times. His bride was very beautiful. He looked very dapper, and the atmosphere was quite beautiful.
Yeah.
So, very exciting. Very happy for both of them.
Yep, me too. Yeah, look great. I'm happy for them. They looked really happy in the moment. Well, at least Henno did. I couldn't see Sharon's face because Tony, my best friend and co-host on Salty Language, was recording, and he's standing off to Sharon's one side, so he can't see her.
You can see the back of her dress, but can't really see her face.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yep.
But doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can tell that they were both very happy.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so I guess we'll let him have a pass for missing the show this week.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I never get a pass. Just kidding. He took one day off for his wedding. I took a month off.
Whatever. It's fine. It is the beauty of having more than two hosts for a podcast,
Yes.
You can rotate one out and still do the show and not have to put up a clip show and stuff by yourself. So, no.
Exactly. Like someone else we know.
Kid. That's my own fault. I just made no other arrangements. I was just lazy. Yeah. It's funny because it's like I said I was lazy, but at the same time I wasn't. For those who don't know,
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, in Salty Languages, Tony he's in Jamaica with Henno and them. So I just put up a show of old clips from something that we've never posted in our feed before. And I did a little intro, and I was like, at one point I'm like, I just didn't feel like doing a show. or anything. But in the end, I had to pull all those clips, cut them down, do a little bit of cleanup in them. It's like I probably did more work by not doing a show. So
that's kind of what I was thinking. But.
Yeah. But it was something we wanted to do anyway, so it's, it kind of fills two goals at the same time there. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So what have you been up to other than putting together a clip show?
Not a whole lot. I'm trying to make better choices, food-wise and stuff, and which hasn't been easy for me because, I like carbs a lot. So I've been trying I've been trying to cut back on that kind of stuff, and which really isn't that hard because I do like other stuff. Like I love vegetables and all that kind of stuff. So, but I got myself one of those spiralizers, but I haven't had a chance to use it yet. But I got one of those, and just trying to make little substitutions and stuff. It's like I have like one pop a day kind of a thing, like usually a can, or if I happen to go somewhere, I'll have a glass and whatever. But I've been personally that I've been trying to find for years something I could drink instead that kind of hit a similar note for me, and I found Kroger has a blackberry citrus seltzer that reminds me honestly of when Tony and I were kids. Tony was in karate, and the place that he did karate at sold New York Seltzer. I don't know if you remember those or not.
Yes,
and
love those.
They had a blackberry one that I loved. And when I saw blackberry citrus, I was like, ooh, so I grabbed a 12 of it, and as soon as I tasted it, I'm like, yes, this is what I want. And I really like it. It gives me the carbonation feel, and it's got, it's a taste that isn't overly fruity or citrusy, which is part of my problem was that I like colas and stuff like that, so I needed something that wasn't just going to taste like lemon, lime, or orange, basically. Or strawberry or something like that. I wanted something that had a little different taste, and so this might be my replacement. So, which is good because that eliminates 200 calories a day on its own, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And did you hear they're talking about making New York seltzers again?
No, I didn't. They'd probably be too expensive for me, but I would be happy because like I said, they had that blackberry one that I loved. And, so when I saw this one, like I said, I was so happy because originally I was over there looking at, was it LaCroix or whatever? And, I happened to see the store brand, and I saw that one, and LaCroix doesn't have that, or at least they didn't at the store, and, I was like, excellent. And it was cheaper too. So, yeah. So instead of drinking a pop, I've been trying off and on to just throw one of those in there instead of a pop to where eventually I can wean myself completely off, and hopefully I'll just be drinking water, basically.
The World Market, Albertsons, and Amazon, you can get it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Interesting. I may have to look into it. Because I'm curious if it holds up to, like my...
the original?
Well, yeah. Well, I haven't had it since I was... And I'm talking... Geez, I don't know, 11, 12, somewhere in that range. So it's been a couple of years.
Right. And sometimes I know our memories can play tricks on us.
Sure, like you remember, it was so good, and then you get it, and you're like, wow, this wasn't as good as I remember it being,
Exactly.
Oh, there it is. It wasn't blackberry, it was black cherry.
Yes.
There it is, because I just looked on Amazon. It says original New York Seltzer Black Cherry 12-pack, $40.
Oh my!
That's for the original. I'm sure there's,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's, because there's Hell's New York Seltzer Water Black Cherry, 20-ounce bottles, 24-pack is $36. That's a much better price. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We digress.
Yeah, but I like I said, it just made me happy because it's kind of cool on two levels because it reminds me of something. There's a nostalgia feel to it, as well as it fills those voids that I've been looking for. So, because I remember I got that Soda Stream, and there's a berry like syrup for that you can make basically sparkling water that's a berry flavor, but it's too fruity. You know what I mean? Like this isn't as fruity. And I think that's the key for me. So
It doesn't say carbonated Kool-Aid.
Right. And so basically what that means is I need to come up with a ton of money so I can buy all that they have, because the way my luck tends to work, this will be discontinued in about a week.
No, silly.
I guess if that's the case, I just start buying blackberries and just start making my own.
Yes, exactly. You have to stomp them like people stomp grapes to make wine.
Well, no, you can just soak it in the water, and the water will pull some of the flavor out of it, you know.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Freeze them in ice cubes, you know, stuff like that, but whatever. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm trying to find stuff like this, because, you know, I've done this off and on, and I'm tired of getting yelled at by my doctor. I'm tired of being on all the medicines I'm on. It's just, you know.
Right.
I know it's good for my depression. It's good for everything involved, you know. There's no reason I shouldn't be doing this. And I like the food. It's not like I'm really making a sacrifice.
Right,
know?
Which is good.
Yeah.
Because some people have a really hard time when they have a very limited palate.
Right. But like, you know, I love greens. You know, I love salads and spinach and all that kind of stuff. So there's no reason that I can't switch to some, you know, stuff and, you know, make sure I'm getting more of that in my life and other stuff. Just, it's mostly just carb reduction and portion reduction. You know, that's more of what it is for me. But anyway, trying to think.
And calorie counters and stuff are always beneficial.
Yeah, you know, the thing is I don't really want to do that. I don't want it to seem like work, you know? Because I think when it does, I think it's hard. Like, I'm the type that if it feels like a bunch of work, I'm going to run away from it, you know?
I can see that.
And I mean that in food. I don't mean that in general in life. I just mean, like, food-wise, it's like, you know, like a great example. We had a bunch of chicken. I marinated it 3 different ways, cooked it up the other night, and I've been cutting it up and making salads out of it when I'm hungry, you know? So I'm not... You know, instead of, like, cause I almost made a wrap the other night and I'm like, why do you need the tortilla? You know, just get a bowl. You know, like, you don't need that. Just eat the rest of it, you know, and it's true. Just, you know, and also, upping my protein, amount. You know, like, instead of just eating like a small piece of chicken with eating a larger piece of chicken, because the protein helps you stay full and, you know, replace the carbs you've cut back on with more protein, that kind of thing. Anyway. We could go and talk about this forever. Good. Yeah. But anyway, that's been going okay so far. You know, the biggest problem for me so far is I really want pizza. And, I think I'm just gonna have to have pizza at some point here. But I'm gonna try that when I get pizza to eat like a salad first, then eat pizza. That way I'm already full, you know, sort of full and,
yeah, that's a good idea.
So, yep. Yeah, that's about it though. I haven't really done a whole lot this week other than putting that show together. I've been working on those things a little each day and whatever.
Well, I mean, my week's been pretty interesting because, well, my husband's been out of town and, it's always interesting because it's a double-sided thing.
Yeah.
You know, one, of course, I miss him and stuff, but it is nice to have the house to myself.
Right.
You know, so that is a nice thing to have the house. You watch what you want to watch on TV and, you know, get the bed to yourself so you have to sleep in the middle and, you know, all the good stuff that comes along with being by yourself.
No, you sleep in the middle? You don't pull the diagonal move, huh?
No, I sleep directly down the center, and then the dog fights me.
Oh, right. I was going to say, I know a lot of people, when they get the bed to themselves, they pull the diagonal move, you know, and sleep.
I can never do that.
Yeah?
I don't know. Sleeping diagonal, it just feels weird to me.
Right. I'm with you. I'd sleep more. I actually, in my bed, I sleep in the middle all the time, so that way I can turn either way and, you know.
Exactly, you know, and you spread eagle, you're just like,
yeah, exactly.
Little bed.
Yep.
But, it did cause some anxieties, though.
Sure.
'Cause, you know, being in the house by yourself at night, even with my animals and stuff, they definitely help. You know, I think I've mentioned a few times on here how I can't be in a house without an animal because I just hear everything.
Yeah.
With the animal, at least I have somebody to blame. When I hear odd noises, I'm like, oh, it's just gotta be the cats.
Right.
So that's beneficial. That's helpful.
It's just a spooky ghost. No big deal.
Exactly. Just, poltergeist or two.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Just call Ghostbusters. You're fine.
Exactly. So it was interesting because, I definitely had to make sure I'm staying up on my medicine and keeping good on that.
Good.
As well as using my my mental techniques and stuff that I've been practicing, and my breathing techniques and stuff. I had to use I don't have trouble sleeping very often, but occasionally when I do, I have to use my sleep routines.
Yeah.
And stuff to kind of help shut my brain down a bit.
Right.
So I had to do that a little bit.
Have you ever
than usual.
Have you ever tried any of the apps that are out there for that?
I haven't, because I've been very successful pretty much with
just without it?
Yeah,
okay.
Just my usual, which I think I've mentioned on here before, which is basically when I'm trying to shut my brain off, there's two techniques I use. The one is the relaxation, which is you start your toes and you work your way up to your nose.
Right.
You clench every muscle group and you relax them, and then you sink down into the bed. You imagine yourself sinking down to the bed.
Yeah.
So I've done that. The other one I use a lot is I picture in my brain mental scissors. And whenever I have something that keeps rolling through my brain, I put it on some film, and I use my scissors and I cut it up and I blow it away.
Right. So
it's a mental technique. So I do that one. The other one I do is I've mentioned it before, staring at the back of my eyelids.
Right. Yeah.
So that basically is kind of a recap for those that haven't heard it before. By staring at the back of your eyelids, when you close your eyelids, let's start from the beginning here. When you close your eyelids, your eyeballs naturally roll back. It's just the thing that your body just does. So if you consciously stare at the back of your eyelid, you're forcing your body to do something it's not accustomed to doing, and it causes you to focus on that, because you have to keep really good focus to be able to do that. And by doing that, it cuts off your brain, because you can't be thinking of all these other things and doing that at the same time.
Right. Which is really what most of this stuff is we've talked about a couple of times on the episodes where we've talked about sleep and relaxation. It says most of it's just distracting, interrupting the worry cycle or the anxiety cycle, makes sense.
Exactly.
Real quick, the reason I had asked you if you use an app, I haven't used this yet. I have it on my phone. I just haven't used it. But my therapist recommended an app to me called Calm. Just the word, just the word Calm. And it's specifically for people who have anxiety before going to sleep. So.
Oh, wow.
I just figured I'd mention that for anybody. I think I've mentioned it before, but just in case I haven't, put it out there. Mm-hmm. Somebody, might want to try. It's a free app. So, it's, you don't have to worry about it costing any money or anything like that.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And if those that are listening, if you guys have any apps or any techniques or tricks that you use, let us know. At the end of the show, we have all our links and contacts and all that good jazz.
There's a lot of free.
Let us know what you do.
Yeah, there's a lot of free apps out there for that. And just like stuff we've talked about on here, something we say may not work for you, but it may work for someone else, or, so same with those apps. Maybe one doesn't really get it done for you, but another one does, Mm-hmm. We've all got our own preferences.
The important thing is to keep an open mind and keep trying.
Yeah.
That's the key, because, it can be very, very, very frustrating.
Yeah.
I've talked to quite a few people who have insomnia and a lot of sleeping issues, and it gets really, really, really frustrating really quickly.
It does.
When you can't get to sleep.
Yep. Yeah.
So. But so I did that, and then it was Father's Day weekend.
Right.
So Sunday, I spent time with my father. We went bowling and out to lunch, which he loves to bowl, so that worked out well. And we also, my father-in-law was in town, so we got to spend some time with my father-in-law, which was nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he stayed with us for a couple nights, and, you know, again, it's one of those things that I love having him around because I'm a big fan of my in-laws.
Yeah.
I have 4 in-laws, which is fabulous, and all 4 of them are just great, wonderful people. So I got very fortunate and very lucky that worked out the way it did. But still, having someone, stay in your house, it can be, a bit on the stressful side,
Mm-hmm.
but on the anxiety side, because, everybody's house smells a little different. So, you want to make sure your house smells good and they feel comfortable.
Right.
And it's so tough because you get used to your house smelling a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and so you don't necessarily notice when it doesn't smell the best.
Or realistically, just the idea of, like, if someone doesn't have pets and then they go into a house with pets, there's going to be things they're going to pick up that, you're going to be, as the Febreze commercials say, nose blind to,
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm getting towards.
Yeah.
'Cause, I have 3 animals. Yeah. And my animals are not the, best behaved. They're good. Yeah. They're good animals. Mm-hmm. They behave themselves to a point. But they have their problems and accidents and issues that do arise. But, especially because I have, a 7-month-old puppy now. So he's really, really, really good. He just sometimes, things happen.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that does cause some anxiety and stuff, but I try to make sure my guests are incredibly honest with me, or at least I ask them to be, so that I can know when there's something amiss that needs to be remedied.
Yeah.
Just because I hate that. I would hate if someone was uncomfortable for any reason and left my house, didn't tell me, but maybe told somebody else.
Yeah, right.
That would really bother me.
Right, that makes sense.
So, but, stuff like that plagues the back of my mind and my insecurities, of course.
Right.
As we all have. But, but those, things are back to normal. I did go on an interview last week. So, I had all sorts of fun, stressful little bumps in my road last week, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
at least they were positive ones,
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are positive stressors, but they are stressors nonetheless, and anxiety inducers.
Sure.
But the worst part about the interview was not the interview itself, but was the fact that it was at a quarry, a stone quarry. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people coming and going, and a lot of trucks coming through. So you have to back into parking lot.
Oh, that's weird.
Or into the parking spaces.
Yeah.
One thing I am not good at, folks, I'm not really good at going in reverse. Like, forward, no problem. I got forward all day long. Mm-hmm. I could drive in a straight line, great. Turn signals, awesome. Got all that down pat.
Yeah.
Going in reverse, though, never been a strong suit of mine.
No, it hasn't.
So, no, never has been. So I pull into the parking lot and I see signs at every single parking spot that says back in only.
Wow.
I'm like, son of a gun. So thankfully I found a spot that had nobody on either side of me. So 3 spots right in a row.
Oh,
so
right.
I could aim towards the middle one. And if I was off, I wouldn't have to worry about hitting somebody.
Right.
So I did make it into the parking spot between the lines. First try. I was very proud of myself. There was somebody that was in the window that did see me, and I know it was not the prettiest backup move I've ever done in my life. But I made it.
Right.
So, I'm like, all right, so I made it. The interview went, I feel, very well. It's tough to tell with these things. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. So hopefully there's a positive outcome.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So that's been my week. Kind of a little bit ups and downs and fun turns and twists, but I made it through in one piece, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So, that being said, I don't know, head over to our topic of the day?
Yeah.
Alright. So, what we're talking about today, folks, is not New York seltzers. Let's get rid of that search.
I mean, we can, but I don't think that's going to be a great topic.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not unless I was drinking a delicious, refreshing New York. No. They can feel free to send me free product,
New York seltzer.
Yep.
So, the topic is unanswered questions and how they affect your productivity. The article I found is on thrivewithadd.com. And this article, it is centered around ADHD and anxieties, specifically at work, but I think a lot of these can be applicable in a variety of different ways, in different points in your life. The article starts with, in both work and everyday life, you sometimes need to make decisions based on imperfect information, or take a course of action without knowing all of the facts and with no guarantee of the outcome. If you're more impulsive, or a person who's not afraid of risks, no problem. But if you lean more towards perfectionism, or your ADD may have a hyper-focusing on the ambiguity, can't say that word, the questions and the unknown factors allowing them to keep you stuck. Then you escalate the question to a fear of the worst case that could happen if you don't have the answer. This leads to even more avoidance. The worst thing you can do is turn a simple "I don't know" into an endless loop of what-if ruminations. Mm-hmm. Mental paralysis like this will affect your productivity. There you go, folks. Mental paralysis. Yep. You have to try to avoid getting to that point.
Yep.
Number 1, easy way to help turn the ambiguity into an action step is write down each unknown that has you stuck. So in this situation, the professor asked Chloe to think of all the questions or points of ambiguity that she had regarding a recommendation report she had to write to senior management about a sensitive work situation. The primary one was, I don't know if I'm evaluating the situation correctly. Without feeling confident about this issue, Chloe felt a great anxiety. She was afraid that whatever she wrote would cause her own judgment to be questioned. See, I can see how this can really, affect people in a variety of ways. Mm-hmm. Anytime someone's asking you to give your opinion on something, there's always that opportunity of being judged.
Yep.
So it's so tough. It's like, and I can see getting very stuck. And a lot of times I will pause before I answer, which may seem a little bit weird in some circumstances, but I pause so that I can kind of collect my thoughts.
Right.
I have to make sure I'm answering, and a lot of times I'll ask for more information before giving an answer, mm-hmm. and that comes across as being, I can't think of the right word for it, but like when you ask why a lot, mm-hmm. Argumentative.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it can come across as being argumentative or being sarcastic, and that's not by any stretch why I'm asking the questions. I'm asking the questions because I need more information to give you my opinion or to give you my thoughts on the matter.
Yeah,
but people don't understand that because they are looking for a simple, basic answer, which I'm not a big one on giving simple, basic answers. I'm a little too wordy for that.
The example of this, though, is really good. Or this tip, actually, about basically writing down everything you're thinking of, like what all the questions, the what ifs, essentially. If you remember back before my Chicago trip last year, remember I said my therapist made me do this in therapy, which was because I was like, well, I'm worried about whatever, and she goes, okay, well, let's play this out, and then she wrote down, was like, what are you afraid of? So I'd tell her, and then we'd actually walk through the scenario to the end of it and be like, is this that bad? Is this a reason to not go? Well, no. Okay, well, next question. And we kind of went through each of those worries, essentially, to help me assess the situation and look at it and go, it's really not as bad as I thought. Also, there's always going to be that element of uncertainty, even if you kind of walk through it. But you're just kind of making sure that you're really worrying about stuff that you can control and worrying about stuff that matters. Right. Because some of it is, when you really sit down and cut, and put all of your, what you're afraid of kind of a thing down, you realize that a lot of it, like when you read it, a lot of it is like, wow, this sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, and a lot of times it really is. It's stuff that your brain takes to such extreme measures that you're like, that's never going to happen.
Right.
And if it does, that's a Guinness Book of World Records type crazy.
Right. And, what ifs are on the, distorted thinking sheets, that I've referred to a million times, to not let what ifs rule you, essentially.
Exactly. And like what you were saying, what your doctor did for you, the next one is turn each unknown into a question you can answer or an alternative to move forward. So, what's your fear? You write your fears down. You take each fear and you turn it into a question you can answer or an alternative to move forward. So, in your case, I think one of the things was you forget your socks. So, my fear is I forget to pack my socks. Alright. Well, what would I do if I forgot to pack my socks? Well, I would find a store and buy some more.
Right. Or I'd go without, because it's not like you have to wear socks,
Exactly.
You can wear shoes without, because it's not like I'm only wearing socks around. I would be wearing shoes also. So, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So there we go, folks. There's a question you can answer. What would you do if you forgot your socks? You buy them.
Yeah.
And there is an alternative to move forward. Alternative to move forward? Don't wear socks.
Yeah.
We're on a roll, folks. Their example is use the powerful word how to start you off. Even if your initial question is, I don't know how to, you can ask yourself, how can I find out? Chloe could start by turning her concern into a question of how to get an answer. So, how can I be sure I'm evaluating the situation correctly? She could then brainstorm possible ways of getting the answer. If nothing was feasible, Chloe could then ask herself, how can I move forward without certainty of the answer and not have my judgment questioned? So, at this point, we have our worry, we have our questions and actions that we could possibly take. Number 3 is turn your answers into actionable steps when necessary. So how can I be sure I'm evaluating the situation correctly? Answer, ask more people who are involved. Action item, set up interviews with those people. So there we go. Mm-hmm. So in our example of the socks, so actionable steps. Next step would be Google searching or searching to find out where the closest store is that you can purchase socks. Then, set up an action plan of who's going to go with you to get socks. Because when you're traveling, folks, never go anywhere by yourself or try not to.
Yeah.
If you're traveling in a group, just always take a buddy with you. It's always on the safer side. And it's more fun.
Yep.
Just saying. And the last suggestion that they have is Google it just a little bit. It's gotta Google it, folks. For almost everything you could possibly think of, if you type it into Google, or Siri, or Ask Jeeves, or whatever else is out there. I know there's 1,000,001 search engines. MSN search engine.
Bing.
Whatever you want to use. Bing. Yeah. There you go. Whatever you want to use. Go ahead. Go onto the interwebs and search it out. Everything is out there.
You have to be careful with
that. You don't want to know.
Yeah, you have to be a little careful with that, though, because, the WebMD example is the one that jumps out, to where somebody kind of has a little something, they look it up on WebMD, and they're like, oh, geez, I have something catastrophic,
Yes.
So,
I sneezed funny, now I'm going to die.
Yeah, so grain of salt on that a little bit. If you're one of those kind of people, maybe, be careful with the Google and such, because it is easy to get caught up,
and also, if you're in a working place environment, keep in mind the appropriateness of your Googling and your searching.
Yeah.
You gotta make sure that you abide by your company's rules.
Well, somebody will remind you if you haven't.
True. Someone will come by and remind you.
Yeah.
But to avoid that if at all possible.
Right, of course.
Or use your phone. As a lot of people I work with do, instead of using the work computers.
Yeah.
But anywho, so this kind of gives you a brief overview. This one kind of, it just kind of it touched on a few different points that we've found very beneficial in the past.
Yeah.
And it's important. It's important to really keep those unanswered questions in perspective of really what they are affecting.
Right.
It's tough. In situations such as mine where I went on an interview, if I don't hear anything ever again from that company, it is frustrating and it is irritating and it will weigh on my mind because, you want a resolution.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't get those resolutions.
Yeah, exactly.
And those unanswered questions are killers. They can just, constantly worry your brain and go over and over and over and over again. And you think of every single possibility and you play them all out. And in the end, does it matter? Not really.
Yep.
In perspective, if they wanted me, they'd contact me.
Yeah.
If they don't want me, then I don't want them because it's not the right fit. It's not that I'm a bad person. It's not that I'm a bad employee. Mm-hmm. It's nothing really against me. It's everything having to do with there were many people and somebody else was just a better fit for that company in that position.
Right, exactly. There's one opening and if 20 people apply, all 20 can't get that. It's nothing personal. It's just these, like you said, someone else is just a better candidate for that position,
mm-hmm.
Or they feel that they're a better candidate, whatever. It's just.
Exactly.
Yeah. It really shouldn't
mm-hmm.
be a shot at your self-esteem or anything. It's understandable how people take it that way. But
sure.
But it really isn't a shot generally. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I guess, it could be. Maybe they just didn't like the person, but.
Right. I mean, it's possible, but unless you're getting confirmation of that.
Exactly.
Don't go there.
Right, exactly. Cause there's no win in that, for sure.
No, exactly.
Yeah. And, same with, the situation that they give in the list there about, the girl not wanting to be judged,
mm-hmm.
or whatever. It's like, no matter what answer you give, there's a chance you're going to be judged, one of those kind of things. So it's one of those that at some point you have to just not worry about it. But like the tips they give, what that allows you to do is remove the potential for it as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a chance you could still give an answer that's completely informed, really good, professional, all that, and somebody can be like, that's really stupid. You know, like it just, they just don't agree with it, you know, so it's, you know, it's why these things are important so that you don't beat yourself up when that happens.
Exactly. You have to find peace with it.
Yeah.
You know, there's one of my favorite songs is by Garth Brooks, and it's actually called Unanswered Prayers. And it always struck a chord with me because he's talking about how when he was in high school and when he was young, he would pray that he would be with his high school girlfriend forever. He loved her so much and he always wanted to be with her. And he ran into her later on in life at a high school football game when he was with his wife. And he met her and her husband and, you know, and he reminisced with her and stuff. And when he walked away, he looked at his wife and he thought, man, am I glad that those prayers weren't answered? You know, am I glad that my prayers went unanswered? Because they really weren't unanswered. They were just answered in a different way than I was expecting.
Right.
You know, he ended up with the right person because that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And when you stop and you think, and whether you're religious or not, it really doesn't necessarily come into play. It did for Garth Brooks because it's his song. So it did for him. But I think whether you want to call it karma, you know, or whatever religion or belief or non-belief that you have, things happen for a reason. And when I find myself in situations where I can't answer why, and I can't control what other people do, or what other people say, or how things play out, I always tell myself that this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, and I have to accept that this is the way it was supposed to be. I can't go back and change it. I can only move on from it. So I have to find a way to accept this is it. This is my answer, which may not be an answer. Maybe, you know, no answer. But this is where I have to live and move on from.
Yeah.
So, and it's tough. It's a tough thing to do.
It is. It always is. You know, it's no matter what it is, whether it's something work related or it's a death or whatever it is, you know, there's just some things that, like we've said before, you know, sometimes you get closure, sometimes you just have to live with that. There's just not going to be closure. It's like you have to make the closure, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes people break up with each other and there's no reason given, you know? And it'll drive one of the people completely crazy because they want to know why, because they want to know what they did or whatever. And it's like, it's one of those situations to where, you know, you know, a lot of people are like, well, I want to know so I don't do it again. And it's like, you know, it's sometimes you just got to accept that you're not going to get an answer, you know, and
sometimes it really is, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's really true.
Right. You know,
sometimes that's really true. You could be just about perfect.
Right. And not to mention, if you're with person A and something about you doesn't gel with them, you know, you might go out with a person B and that might be exactly what they like about you. So, you know, it's like,
and you might change that.
It's like, don't change yourself necessarily because of a rejection from someone else kind of a situation, you know, just, but, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are cases to where it's, you know, whether it's like an addiction issue or, you know, those kind of things where sometimes...
Well, changing yourself for the better is always good.
Right.
We should always strive to be a better version of ourselves.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
That type of change, that change is good.
Yeah. But don't be less of a nerd or something like that because someone didn't like that about you, you know?
Forget that.
Yeah.
Embrace the nerd.
Do you.
Let your freak flag fly.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful how you say that, folks.
Yeah,
because freak flag fly could really turn into other things very quickly.
Right. So, I don't know. Do you have any more on this topic, or
no? That was my article. It was a short but sweet one then for this week.
I've got another one that I'll include in the show notes. That, like, if we got into it, it'd be a whole, like, it's a whole, we'd do a whole nother episode almost. So I don't really want to get into it. But it's got various tips in there for strategies for reducing chronic worry or rumination, because that's really what this is ruminating, to where basically you're paralyzed because, like, you won't take a first step because you're too caught in the what if, and sitting there. And it's terrible. I mean, it's really been the worst part of things for me. There's a lot in my life that if I could just get rid of that part of things, I would be able to do a whole lot more in life, but I have fears of this, and anxiety, anxiety just grows and grows. It just consumes and consumes, so, it's tough to fight it. And, anyway, there's some really good tips on this too. So, take a look at that, or, like Jen said before, Google rumination and, or not rumination, but like reducing rumination or combating or something along those lines, fighting, because it's a really difficult step in anxiety, so
shutting the brain off is really tough.
It's really hard that's why these things that make you kind of take a step back and go, is this logical? Is this good? Like, is asking this question for my own good, or is this only to my detriment? If it's only to your detriment, essentially, brush it aside. Those kind of things. That's one of the tips on there. Don't get me wrong, you can't do that with everything, but it's sometimes you can. But yeah, so that was the end of that. I just wanted to point that out too. That link will be in the show notes too.
Awesome.
Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I had it pointed out to me by our friend Jeannie that, how I've talked about positive narcissism quite a few times. And I say it tongue in cheek when I say it, because it really is kind of an oxymoron, and I fully understand. I had a conversation with somebody about it last night, and she pointed out how much of an oxymoron. And I was like, I know, that's why I say it tongue in cheek,
Yes.
Now, realistically, narcissism starts as self-esteem. It's a positive self-image, essentially. And then to get into, like, the narcissism disorder, that's when all the other stuff gets added to it, But Jeannie pointed out to me, there's a podcast, and there's a TV show also, from this, or that this came from, essentially. But it's called Adam Ruins Everything. And it's basically a guy who takes, kind of tropes out there and just kind of tries to prove how people are looking at them the wrong way. And, grain of salt like anything else. It's kind of like if you ever watched Penn and Teller's, we'll say for this podcast, Penn and Teller's BS.
Great show.
It's the same concept. If you grain of salt on it, because of course anybody doing a show like this, they've got their own kind of thing. But anyway, this episode, he talks with a woman who, and they're talking about, like, generational differences and stuff. Kind of like talking about how hard it is to truly define millennials and the difference between, millennials and whatever. And he doesn't think it's fair for labels to be assigned to a lot of these groups, like, and she points out, which is that, people in the 90s, the kids of that era, were, you wear black and you're depressed, basically, or you're sad or whatever. And she's like, and I wasn't, she's like, I didn't do either of those things, but I get lumped into that, which is kind of what he's pointing out. But she's found in her studies that, essentially millennials have a higher sense of worth than previous generations. And, she actually talks about a little bit, about the positive aspects of that, which is kind of interesting, because she's like right on the doorstep of it, but doesn't completely say it. But there are benefits to being, to having high self-worth, because that generally leads to confidence and all this other stuff. But like she made a point, pointed out, she's like, narcissists are charismatic jerks. She's like, that's why they make good leaders. Because we love to follow people like that. And, to be a leader, you kind of got to be a jerk sometimes. So it's, but I just thought it's a really good podcast to listen to. But I also thought that just that episode, it was kind of funny how, she was getting kind of in that neighborhood, but it starts positive, and then obviously as the scale goes up, it gets more and more negative, because the more narcissistic you are, the less you care about others. You generally attack other people. It gets very negative. But I thought it was a really, it was just kind of funny, that, she talks there a little bit. So, anyway, that episode it's Adam Ruins Everything. It's episode 28. Again, I'll have the link in the show notes if you want it, but if not, it's episode 28.
Nice.
So.
And you said it's a TV show too?
It is. Like, this one isn't a TV show, but it's on, is it True TV?
Okay.
Has episodes of the show, and that, like, this episode 28, I think, is the most current episode of the podcast, so he doesn't have a lot of them out there. But yeah, I've enjoyed watching the show quite a few times, because there are a lot of things on there that it shows that, you kind of, like, I've kind of agreed with and known for a time, and it's just like, I wish I could show this episode to everybody, or I wish I could, this is a waste of money, or this is really stupid, or, it basically, like, one of the episodes has to do with, like, charities and stuff. Like, instead of giving food to food banks, the best thing you can give them is money. Because people think I give food to the food bank because they need food, but what they don't realize is that a lot of these food banks have arrangements with farmers to where if they take money to the farmer, they get a ton of food. So for that same $20, they could get 3-4 times the food or something than if you just went and bought, plus they can get exactly what they need versus, like, okay, we don't need any more canned corn, like that kind of a situation. But that's just a short clip. But they go through and they show reasons and how it affects different things. And there's some really great episodes of that show. But
very cool.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Like I said, I like the show too, but the podcast, I haven't listened to many episodes of the podcast. I've only listened to a few, but it's basically this kind of the same idea. Where he talks with a guest. I don't know if the podcast correlate with the TV show ever or not. I could see where maybe they wouldn't because, the podcast is free. The TV show they want you to watch. So, if I listen to the podcast, why do I need to watch the show or vice versa? But, yeah. And,
that's a good point.
Yeah. One other thing I saw, and again, this is the kind of stuff that, how Henno the one week did the, like, science corner or whatever. This kind of fits under that, which is, grain of salt, again, but it's an interesting, a study showed, there was a study that was done with a certain probiotic, and it showed positive results for people with depression and anxiety, basically that also had, like, IBS.
Oh, wow, cool.
Now, we were just talking, was that a week or two ago? Or maybe it was just Henno and I talking. I don't remember. We were talking about how there's been a lot of studies and stuff done recently. They're looking more and more at the bacteria in your gut because they're realizing that it directly leads to your head. That there's a lot of things in your stomach lining and whatever that also, or, that send messages to your brain. So there's some thinking, basically the thought is that this probiotic helps make your stomach good, which then tells your brain that it's good. Also because, IBS can be, again, they don't seem to know, a lot of people that have IBS also have anxiety and depression, but they don't necessarily know which came first, essentially,
Got it.
Because, the ability to make uh-ohs in your pants, is obviously going to give you anxiety, but having anxiety could upset that stuff in your stomach, which could lead to, having use. Yeah, exactly. So, and if I can find the article again, I'll throw it in the notes also. But I thought that was an interesting thing. I wrote down the probiotic name because I'm kind of curious to look it up and see, what else has been done with it. So I know there's a lot, for a while probiotics felt like it was a fad, but I've known enough people now that have taken them and seem to have really positive results. And that seems to be the more and more that they're looking at stomach connection to the head. It seems to be way more tied together, I think, than anyone ever thought, So.
Which is amazing. And anything to help further, the understanding.
Yeah.
Of how our bodies work.
Well,
better off it is.
Now, a lot of people that have IBS, get recommended probiotics, But if probiotics help with that, and then that helps with anxiety and depression, no matter which caused which, if one thing kind of helps the whole cycle, that's awesome, So, but, again, grain of salt, because it's a study, studies always can be, kind of one-sided, depending on who's funding them and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought it was kind of a neat, a little neat snippet of stuff that may help, and relevant to the podcast. So,
absolutely, very cool.
Yeah. So that's all I got.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's all I have too. So we might be making a little bit of a short show.
Nah, we're at 56 minutes. So
we're perfect. I guess
about right on time. Yep.
Awesome. Well, folks, if you want to continue the conversation with us, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can reach out to me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. You can also shoot us an email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com, or you can visit our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. And you, Brian, how can they reach you?
First of all, they can also reach Henno on Twitter at IdaHenno if you want to send him congratulations or anything like that. And you can also find him on Facebook at Henno Heiter.
Absolutely.
Or you can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. I'm on Twitter at Stunami. My other podcast, which is Salty Language, is at Stunami, at salty_language. Or saltylanguage.com, and that show is not safe for work. You can find us on all sorts of stuff: iHeartRadio, Stitcher, YouTube. We're on iTunes, all that kind of stuff. We're part of the Tangibon Network, which can be found at tangibonnetwork.com. And forgot I was going to mention something else there. Oh, if you'd like to help the show out, a great way to help us out would be to retweet our episodes when they go up. To share them with people or share our Facebook post, whichever. Also, if you're on iTunes, if you could leave us a review, subscribe if you haven't already. And then on anything like Stitcher or whatever you may use, if there's a share or a like button, please use that, because all that stuff helps us get found, quicker in searches. Like, we'll show up higher in the searches, basically. And, then, of course, I want to remind everybody that we're not doctors, trained professionals, or therapists. We're just two people sharing some tips and hopefully, something that may help. But please don't please don't mistake this show for therapy. If you need help, please go talk to a professional and get the help you need. Again, if you need resources to help you find therapist or whatever in your area, we have, links over on the Facebook group, or go to NAMI.org. And they have, great resources there for people. And then, of course, if you're feeling, thinking of harming yourself or others, no matter what stage of the process it is, tell somebody. Please don't act on it, but please tell somebody. And, try to get some help for it, because, the earlier you can stop it, the better off you'll be, as well as, you won't hurt yourself or others, hopefully. Like I said, even the planning stages of it, thinking about writing a note or how you would do it, that kind of thing, that's a red flag. Go seek help at that point. And then last, please reach out to people. Reach out to friends. Talk to somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. Tell people you appreciate them or that you love them. A great example for me, as yesterday was Father's Day, and I lost my dad a while ago, and it's, it still crushes me every year on that day. And, so, never wait to tell somebody you appreciate them or that you love them, because at some point in your life, you'll probably hit a point where you may not be able to do that anymore. So get them in while you can. And, also you never know, it might brighten someone's day. It may save their life. You just never know what one phone call or one, how you doing, to a friend can mean.
Exactly. So make sure, and plus it makes you feel good too.
Also that. Positive narcissism.
Never discount positive narcissism. Never discount the positivity you can feel by doing good things and saying happy things and good things.
Yeah.
So, but reach out to everybody. And remember, keep breathing. Wiggle your toes, folks. And try to have a good week.